Hello, hello, and welcome to the first episode of Transistor Radio. I am here with our guest. I'm here with our co-host, uh, Rachel Hill. How you doing, Rachel?
Rachel Hell, what's up?
Rachel Hell.
Rachel Hell,
Looking
whatever,
good.
right? Call me. Great.
So anyway, this is our first episode, so we're gonna just go at this as best we can. Um, so so first, I'm gonna present what we're going to be doing today, and because we actually have a presentation, we're going to first talk about why we're doing this. We'll go over some transgender terms. I guess first we should say this is a podcast or video cast about transgender issues, and and as we do that, now we'll switch to the agenda. We'll talk about who Rachel is, who I am. My name is Tim. How we know each other, and what to expect in future episodes. All right, and okay. Well, let's go to this first. Why are we doing this? Rachel, you wanna jump in on that?
Well, from my point of view, we're coming from two different angles when we discussed this, but ultimately we both wanted to do a podcast, and we both wanted to include our transgenderism and the transgender topic. And I just came out, and I'm real excited about being transgender and working with an old friend. What do you think, Tim?
Well, the reason that I think we're doing this is well, first of all, we want to be authentic with and also educate the transgender community and educate the general community about issues surrounding gender and how we can best serve the community with our authenticity.
So the key words are authenticity and inspiration.
Yes. Okay, let's see if this. Oh, let me go to this view. This view.
Oh.
All right, so the next thing we want to go through, I thought the slide would be better than this, is transgender terms. And I have a few terms here that we can look at here. I will let me take the first two, Rachel, and then and then we'll go from there. People are already ringing off the hook with questions and enthusiasm about this show. So I'll start with the transgender. Transgender is basically, and you can chime in at any time where you think that.
Chime in on all of them because I cannot read them, Tim.
Oh, okay. Well, the first term is transgender, and that's basically a kind of an umbrella term for anything that deals with transgender issues. Transvestitism is basically a term used to describe men or women who have an attraction towards the opposite sex clothing. In other words, they get some sort of gratification out of wearing the opposite member's clothes. That could be sexual, or could you just be regular pleasure? Do you want to take the word transsexual, Rachel? And how would you define that?
Actually, transsexual, from what I understand these days, is an outdated term. We stopped using about, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago. It meant someone that wanted to change sex from male to female or female to male, and usually followed through with the operation.
Okay.
I had a question. I know cross-dressing next, but what's the difference between a cross-dresser and a transvestite? I'm asking you.
Yeah, usually those terms are, yeah, which is the next one. Usually those terms can be used intermingly, or they almost mean the same thing. But I think cross-dressing
Transvestite
tends to.
term as well.
What's that?
Like I noticed the words transvestite and transsexual have been kind of taken out of the vocabulary of people that actually are in the community.
Right. Yeah. But ever since the word transgender came up, they seem to have taken that out.
Because it's such a broader term. And it sounds, I like it. It sounds more organic, the word transgender. It's not as transsexual, transvestite. You know what I mean? It doesn't have that. It doesn't sound like it's something horrible is happening to you.
Well, now they might be more used as clinical terms, and as they always were, they were used as clinical terms in psychology.
True.
And as we begin to tell our stories, actually, it was actually in a psychology class that I was in college with when I first came across that term. And
which one?
Both of them, transvestite and transsexual. And but I don't want to get into our stories right now. I want to keep on the trans terms here.
I don't mind discussing terms and interweaving some of our life, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
Not revealing too much, or do you just want to get through the list? And then
I just want to get through the list, and we'll that way we stay to a format, and because I'd like to keep it.
My ability to take us on a tangent is useless here.
Exactly. Okay. And of course, we have the word drag queen, which is basically, and it can be drag queen or drag king. A drag queen would be a male who just is basically a presenter. It's artistic and it's just basically theater. And then there's a couple of. What's that?
It's usually not sexual or gender related. Dressing up,
right?
It's for fun. It's for money. It's for entertainment.
Right. And
well, not always for money. You know what I mean?
Right. But the general public sometimes does not know the difference between them, and that's why I brought that term in there. Now the next term is called you can't see it on the screen, but it's the word is dysphoria. And do you want to take a crack at that, Rachel?
Sure. I had to learn about this, and that's part of my story as well. But gender dysphoria for me is being uncomfortable with the body I was put in, disliking my body because it's male, and it's not female the way I feel that I was born to be. And I'll get into my dysphoria later, but basically that. It's like, for instance, someone that wants to be a female is in a male body wants to cut male body parts off because it bothers her so bad. So unfortunately, most of us transgender, male and female, do have a form of body dysphoria. You have anything to add to that, Tim?
No. I think that's perfect. So I'll take the next term, which I recently discovered. It's called gender euphoria. And gender euphoria is sometimes related to the term in cross-dressing and transvestite, in which somebody will caught up in the fantasy of being, in the case of being a woman. In other words, you get this sensation of euphoria, but it's different than dysphoria because once the gratification is complete, then there's no more euphoria. You just want to get out of the clothes as soon as possible, and so
Oh, that's
yeah, I recently discovered this term. So anyway, let's
before I
move
came out
on. Oh, I'm
of
sorry.
transgender, I experienced that a lot. I experienced that a lot before I came out as transgender. I thought I was a cross-dresser. I got off on it. So once the before feeling was gone, you just triggered what I used to do. I was like, oh, I want to get this stuff off on me. I don't want to wear these clothes anymore.
Right.
Until I was, well,
And so that's why
that
we want to
disappeared,
kind of
all
cover
that.
whoops. Yeah, that's why I wanted to sort of cover all these terms because, as even though there's a small percentage of people that actually kind of identify in the gender, in the gender area or gender dysphoria or area, there's a lot of people who are affected by gender issues. And, I read some statistics somewhere that, there's like, 85% of the male population has had some sort of cross-dressing experience. And because there's so much information out there, there's so much misinformation out there, it's easy to kind of confuse yourself. And so that's some of the issues I guess we want to tackle here. And let me see if we can go on to the next slide.
Ooh, slideshow.
Let's see. Oh, not that one. Let's go
I'll see if I
back.
can stop moving. Well, Rachel spells
Okay.
her name different. I'll tell you that. We could start there.
Did I spell your name wrong?
Good.
Sorry about that.
All A's, baby. All A's for Rachel.
Okay.
Actually, there's only one A and one A. I'm spelling my name wrong now.
All right. Well, I can't change it now. All right. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe take about maybe about 5 to 7 minutes?
5 to 7 minutes. I'm Rachel. I'm transgender female. I came out in May 4th, believe it or not. May the 4th be with you. And it was an amazing week, and it was a terrifying week. I'm 53 years old. And I honestly thought I had no idea. What I mean was I repressed my desire to be a woman so much I ended up with a drug and alcohol problem for years. And I was sober for collectively 20 years. And I never dealt with this issue, so I kept on doing anything to escape, especially sex shit. And cross-dressing was always involved and mixed in there, so I just figured it was part of my sex addiction. And I come to realize, after all these years, it was me and it was Rachel trying to get out. And I grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and this was not as acceptable. And we are in a wonderful society right now as far as being transgender and LGBTQ compared to how it was in the past. I mean, we still have a long way to go of acceptance. I'm still scared to death to walk in certain areas with a wig and a dress on. But I'm really grateful that I'm able to do this, and I was very fortunate to have. I can't even describe I can't give you a number. How many people have reached out to support me during this, including Tim. And this is how we got to talking about it. This podcast, and I hope to inspire people with my transition. Some days I may not appear in makeup. I may be a little more manly looking, and I have no HRTs started. We'll get into what they are, I'm sure. If you don't know, I have a cardiac problem, heart problem, and my doctor doesn't recommend doing hormone therapy, so I'm upping one of my heart meds. It lowers my testosterone, and I'm on my way, and I'm developing some feminine mannerisms, hormones, etc. It's one day at a time journey for me, and I'm so grateful to be part of this podcast and part of life, and I'm grateful to be Rachel Hill. All right, Tim, I think that's enough about me.
If you don't mind, I could ask you a question. Can you tell me the moment that the moment or the thing of decisions that made you finally come out and realize where you were at?
What was the defining moment?
Yes.
I'm a recovering drug addict, and my 1-year anniversary this year was May 8th. I had my 3rd heart attack last year. I was really wanted to live now for the first time in my life. I had a pacemaker and a defibrillator. I had to change my whole life. I got better physically, spiritually, and emotionally. I did a lot of work on myself, and I still was thinking about doing drugs. I couldn't understand what it was. I was just flirting with the idea. My life is good. Everything was moving along. I mean, for someone with a year off of drugs, a disastrous way of living, let's say. So I was hitting an impasse, and I noticed I was cross-dressing a lot. I was buying women's underwear, socks. And, I've had a sock fetish this whole year, and I don't mean a sexual fetish alone. It was also I love buying socks. I love wearing socks, cute socks, feminine socks. So that I have a therapist, and I ran all that by her, and she suggests I look into gender fluidity. There's another term, and gender queer. So I started watching a lot of YouTube videos, and that led me to watching male to female transgender women speaking about how they found themselves and how they came out, and it's very inspirational. One at a time, it's just breaking down the barriers in my head. The memories started popping up. Every time I wanted to be a woman, every time I dreamed of having a vagina instead of a penis, just kind of blocked that out because it wasn't possible in this world, and in my world, so I thought. And now I know it's a lot more than just my physical. It's not my physical being. It's who I am inside, and I am who I was. I've become a totally different person. This is part of my journey, and self-discovery, helping myself heal and help other people. Is that a little better, Tim?
That's awesome. No, I'm glad that you got an opportunity to share. I mean, I was interested actually in that moment too, to see, where the moment that led you to, because I think that's very important. For people to know, and how people came to their decisions about, gender issues. So,
of course, that's what inspired me. Listening to other people like us talk about how they came out, why they came out. I heard one woman, it was a female to male transgender, say that it was like he had this big secret, and it was so secret he didn't even know what it was. That just blew my mind, and I'm like, that's exactly what happened to me. My secret's out. I've never been happier. How about you, Tim? Story.
Well, my story almost feels the exact opposite of yours, which is I mean, I wouldn't say the opposite, but I mean, the
Oh,
issues are the same, but the timeline is so opposite. Um, I mean, for me, of course, I'm the reason I'm on this show because I do experience gender issues, and I've had experienced them all my life. And the first moments that came was actually when I was very young. I noticed pre-puberty that I had a desire to wear women's clothes, and I didn't know where it came from. And finally, at some point in my life, around age, I'm going to say about age 11, um, I had two cousins that came over to my house, and instead of dressing up the Barbie, they used to have a Barbie makeup head, where, little girls would um, put makeup on this Barbie head. So instead of doing the Barbie head, they decided to do me. And then, and they did it, and I was almost instantly hooked. And I just wanted more. So at that point, at age 11, I began doing, I rummaged into my mother's closet and I started trying on clothing, and I was just, um, euphoric. And which finally led to the first time that, that I ever I masturbated, and I didn't even know what I was doing, at that time. And that's what happened. I masturbated, and um, but like I said, I didn't know that that's what I was doing. So anyway, that um, after that, I basically continued, and I found that I wanted badly to be able to, pass outside. I wanted to walk by people. I wanted to be presented. I wanted people to see me as a woman. I wanted to present myself as a woman. And, the, along with the extreme fear that related to that, there was also a sense of euphoria that came with that. And, um, you know, both sexually and just in general, euphoria. And, and like I said, and like yourself, um, as I grew older and was introduced to, alcohol and different drugs, I, you know, started taking things a lot further. I would cross dress. I didn't know anybody. That was the one thing. It became a very, very strong secret. I couldn't let anybody find out. Of course, I did get caught by my parents during times, and I got caught by an aunt, and I remember at times I had passed, passed by people that you know my I remember a friend's father like saw me in Philadelphia one time, and it was like, oh my God. um, and didn't know if they actually knew that it was me, but I knew that I passed them. So there was so much fear and so much secrecy attached to it. And of course, at that time, which was probably the the middle 70s, and probably, yeah, the middle 70s. The only cross-dressing person that I knew was Flip Wilson from TV when he used to do a character called Geraldine. And um, but like I said, the first time I ever saw the term was when I was in college, and I think it was either my freshman or sophomore year in college that I was in a psychiatry class, and I came upon the word transvestite and transsexual. And I remember at the time I identified more with the word transvestite, but I wasn't sure. And I wasn't sure if that was exactly the case. But anyway, time went by. There was I was lucky enough to actually be introduced to a group called the Renaissance Group somewhere when I was around age 25, which I believe saved my life because um, I was drinking heavily and taking a lot of risks that were that put me in very dangerous situations. And as we know, a lot of transgender people are killed still to this day. And so I feel very lucky that that didn't happen, and also that I ran into this group, the Renaissance Group. I'm not sure if it still exists, but um, they were a support group for cross-dressers, transsexuals, or as we'd say, transgender. And I see that I've gone on a little bit, so I'm going to try to just wrap this up in a couple of phrases. But like yourself, Rich, I got sober from drugs and alcohol, and in that rediscovery period, I realized, as a friend had told me, has this behavior in my life um, uh, brought more positive things or more negative things? And at that point in my life, it was bringing a lot more negative things. And that's why, eventually I did stop cross dressing and so forth. And, 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 you know, and it was a very good decision. And as we go on, I'll explain and how I kind of deal with that for myself. Now, this is the decision for myself. That obviously, your decision is kind of the opposite. Where, if you felt like you didn't change, then, if you didn't make these decisions, then you would drink again. With me, if I didn't stop, I would drink. So, but anyway, let's move on. I didn't realize that I talked so much. So the next thing is how we know each other. And obviously we know each other because we got sober together. I'll let you talk.
I'm going to say Tim is going to call me Rich many times on this podcast.
Oh, no.
By accident. For 27 years, so it's hard to change his name in your mind. And that's kind of good for this podcast because it's just people we're trying. Like nobody's
didn't even
perfect.
realize that I did.
And I really appreciate it. Yeah, I know. Several people do it all the time. That's why I went with Rachel, because Rich and Rachel sound similar when you say Rich. I've worked with a Rachel before, and I would always look whenever they called her. So I still look when they call her. We met 27 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we talk about how we met? We didn't go over that.
Yeah.
Private.
But we actually were roommates for a long time too. And it's interesting. The first thing when Rich finally came out to me, I was like, "Why didn't you tell me a long time ago?" As I was going through it, timing.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I secretly admired you, and I wanted to be part of it. But timing.
So let me see where we are in the slideshow.
Your outline?
And because I'm so obsessed with my slideshow here that to be or not to be. Or as a good friend of ours used to say.
That's kind of us.
What were you going to say?
decided not to be, and I decided to be.
So we'll leave it right there. As a
Yeah,
good friend
okay.
of ours used to say, or to pee or not to pee, our good friend Marcus. So
Did he?
we're at about almost out of time here. So what's next is I believe Rachel is going to tell her story on our next show. Is
The
that
elongated,
correct?
right? The 20, 10, 15-minute version.
Yes, the longer
I'm sure
version.
we'll get, yes.
And then the week after that, I will tell my story, maybe in a little bit more full detail. Especially toward the end there, I had to really kind of sum it up. And but there was a lot of factors that came in there that helped me to get to the decision that I needed to get to, that I feel comfortable with even today. Um, which
I'll ask you more
which
about that too. Cover it.
yeah, and like I said, for both of us, a lot of the key is communicating with other people and finding support groups among us that really help. Um, really help us. We
On some
can't do this alone.
Zoom recovery and trans on Zoom.
Yeah,
That's a good thing. Found Facebook has a million support groups. YouTube, even though you're not talking to other people, you're watching them, and there's a connection there. Real life is the best, to hang out with my real life trans friends and meeting new trans people. That's been fun. And then hanging out with new women, embracing my new identity and other men. So it's all part of our journeys, right?
yeah. So anyway, we're
Uh-huh.
at 32 minutes. We wanted to keep it to 30 minutes.
Up.
So let's
Not bad with
let's
me.
we'll sign off at this point, and let me put up the next slide. Obsession wise slide. Here we are. Thank you. If you tuned it
That's the best
into
man.
this, um, tune in the next time, which will be in the next 1 or 2 weeks, and we hope to make this on a regular basis. Tim M signing out with.
Rachel H.
Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.